This is the Soul-Filled Sisterhood podcast, and I'm your host, Nicole Burgess, licensed marriage and family therapist and an empowerment coach for women. The information shared in this podcast is not a substitute for seeking help from a licensed mental health professional. Now here is today's episode. Episode 1. Well, welcome, sister. Thank you so much for joining me today. In today's episode, I want to talk about the power of self-reflection and how it actually impacts your brain, how it impacts you getting closer to who you truly are, your essence. So, what do I mean by self-reflection? The way I describe it is more about having that mindfulness practice, meaning you are very present in the moment. You're letting go of the past. You're letting go of what may happen in the future. You are just here in this moment because that's all you have. If you are reflecting on a moment, you're not judging it. You're just letting go of those thoughts. You're just letting that memory, that image, those thoughts come and go as you go about your day. Maybe you're wondering, how does self-reflection, how does creating this ritual of self-reflection actually improve your life or impact relationships? Well, one, it actually improves your brain. And the one way that it does that, it actually creates more of the gray matter in the front part of your brain so that you become more responsive to situations versus reactive. Means, again, you are very, very in the moment, you're present, so that if something in the past, maybe it was a negative event or a negative incident that has occurred between you and maybe somebody else, you're not as easily triggered by that past and trying to bring that forward into this current interaction with the person. You're more able to respond and just kind of notice the thoughts that fly through, notice your emotions that may come up, and just move through it versus get stuck in it. You also begin to release the ego more. And our ego really is like, hey, we got to survive. You gotta really pay attention to what I'm telling you. And when you do that in the self-reflection practice, you're able to stay more centered in your own body, in your own true, again, essence, which will help also drive out the fears because you're not attached to those thoughts that come through. You begin to release more of fears of being embarrassed or humiliated. It's just like, it's going to be whatever it's going to be. I have self-compassion for myself. I can have self-compassion for the other person. You begin to truly gain insight into your truth. As I was saying, with self-reflection, when you're coming back to yourself, coming back to your inner soul, that's going to help you stay not only connected to your mind and your body, but also what really comes up for you, where you stay on your course, you stay on your path. And one of the quotes that I often will talk to clients about, or that I like to remind myself of, is by Joseph Campbell. And he says, if the path before you isn't clear, you're probably on someone else's. And I think sometimes we can do that. We can get off our own path and we get onto somebody else's, and we start to either judge them or we judge ourselves of where we are in life and what needs to happen or hasn't happened type of thing. And in the self-reflection, you just explore that. You stay curious about what's coming up for you versus judging it. It also helps you to be able to tap more into your own intuition, your inner wisdom, those gut feelings that you may have, so you can stay more open to what comes up for you versus dismissing it. Self-reflection can also actually improve relationships. As I said before, as you do this kind of mindfulness practice, you become more responsive versus reactive in situations. So you can, when you have that deeper understanding or deeper awareness of yourself, you can actually articulate that better in any relationship that you're in, whether that's with a partner, with a parent, with a child, with a friend, with a colleague, coworker, or anything like that. You know your truth, and you're able to speak that in a very compassionate, kind way, without letting go or letting ego really kind of go, okay, I need to please this other person and I need to do what they're saying so that everything goes smoothly. Now, I'm not saying you're going to totally go against somebody if it's something about safety in that sense, but it's really more about you knowing yourself, where if you're not comfortable with, I don't know, going to a certain place, or you're not comfortable with, or how they're speaking to you, you are able to let them know that from a very grounded, centered place. The self-reflection can actually help also in relationships really heal past wounds, because you see more of the part you took in that interaction with the person. And then you're also to recognize more often the other person's possible projection onto you. So if they're mad because you set up a new boundary or new limit with them, and they're like, how dare you do this to me? You're not doing anything to that person. You're setting up what works for you, what is in your, in a way, best interest that helps you stay grounded in that relationship as a whole. And so it's, again, staying curious with like, help me understand what you think is going on right here, or help me understand what's coming up for you. When you're able to stay curious with that, you're able to have dialogue and actually take the relationship to even a deeper place. And as I was saying just a little bit ago, you having that self-reflection practice and knowing yourself better, you then learn how to set up healthier boundaries, because the more you know about yourself, you begin to gain more insight of what you're okay with and what you're not. And in return, all of this can deepen the relationship with other people. I'm going to take this like a step further and talk about contemplation. And the difference between contemplation and self-reflection, you're really looking more at your own actions, your own thoughts, trying to tap more into what it comes up for you. And in contemplation, what I mean, and by definition, it talks about the act of looking thoughtfully at something for a long time, or a deep reflective thought. Here I want you to, this is more what I'm talking about, is more of sitting in whether it's prayerful meditation, it's receiving information from your soul, the divine, God, whatever language you use for your spiritual practice. This is more about you're sitting and really reflecting on, maybe it's a true prayer or healing energy that you're sending out into the world. You're receiving more than really asking for it, if that makes sense. Prayerful meditation is you're really focusing on the higher power, your spiritual guide. Again, whether it's God, it's Goddess, it's, again, whatever you believe is your higher calling, your higher power. It's being able to meditate on that so that you're bringing that energy into you. You're also creating a daily habit of prayer or meditation so that you can be stronger during times of your life when there's truly discomfort, or there may be suffering or stormy seasons. I'm not saying that doing contemplation or even self-reflection will be this magical experience that will take away all your pain and suffering of what's truly happening in your world, the planet, on this earth. But it really can allow you to be open more to receiving joy in your life and not getting so stuck in, again, the fears of the scarcity mindset, the lacking mindset. When you're doing more of this contemplation, you begin to bring in more of that positive energy and being able to let go, again, of your ego that likes to get in the way at times. This practice can also help you stay more in alignment with your truth, your inner wisdom, versus what the outside world says. In the next episode, I'm going to talk a little more about kind of the good girl mindset or image and how to really break free from those things. So with this, when you are giving yourself some space on a daily basis, and I know sometimes it can be really hard to so-called find that time to do it, but it's amazing when we really are intent on creating more peace and joy in our life, we can find that time to actually sit for 5, 10, 15 minutes and allow that space just to be yours, where you're connecting with yourself, you're connecting with your higher power, your divine God, however you word that, and you open up that channel to stay more grounded within that and receiving information. Again, contemplation or self-reflection, oftentimes people are like, oh, I can't sit there for that long, Nicole. You actually don't have to. It's really finding what works for you. There are days where sitting for me can be really easy, and other times I'm like, oh my goodness, I cannot do this sitting. So whether it's taking a walk outside in nature and knowing I'm really connected at that point in time to my higher power, to God, then that's what works for me. For other people, it may be listening to music or chanting or repeating a phrase when they're sitting in reflection or contemplation. It really, there's no one way to do it. I know I was reading somewhere that, Rumi actually, danced when he was doing his contemplation time. So yeah, it's really finding what practice works for you and that it's okay. The last thing that I want to really leave you with is another quote, and it's from Marianne Williamson. And it is, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? Your playing small doesn't serve the world. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. So the reason why I think this is such a powerful quote from her, it's really reminding each of us that every woman on this planet really, truly is very powerful, and you have something that you have to offer our world, whatever capacity that may look like. Motherhood, the work that you do out in the workforce, or both, what you're doing in your community, you really do matter. And having this time of self-reflection, time of contemplation where you're, again, receiving information, tapping back into your intuition, tapping back into your truth, your inner soul, it is so important so that you can continue to serve in a much deeper level and be more in alignment with who you truly are versus trying to be somebody that the world says you need to be, or maybe it's again, those old beliefs that we hear from different parts of the world. It's really challenging that and saying, is it actually true for me? So I hope you found this helpful today. And the show notes will be out at NicoleBurgessCoaching.com. And you can find all the show notes and the different quotes and the people that I quoted today. And yes, I want to say just thank you so much for taking the time and tuning in. And I will see you next time. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I hope you found it helpful or inspirational or even encouraging wherever you are right now in your life. If you know of another woman who may find this podcast inspirational or encouraging, please pass this along to her. I really do appreciate you taking the time to listen. Until next time, take care.